Long before Cleopatra became the last great queen of Egypt, the ancient world was already changing in ways that would shape history forever. Egypt was still rich in tradition and culture, and the Nile River continued to give life to its people. The Great Pyramids still stood under the desert sun, silent reminders of a powerful past. But far to the west, a new force was rising. Rome was growing stronger every year, expanding its influence across the Mediterranean and slowly changing the balance of power. Cleopatra was born in Alexandria around 69 BC, one of the most important cities of the ancient world. Alexandria was a place where cultures met. Ships arrived from Greece, Africa, and Asia. Traders filled the streets, scholars studied in great halls, and knowledge from many civilizations was collected in the famous Library of Alexandria. It was a city of light, learning, and ambition. She was born into the Ptolemaic dynasty, a Greek royal family that had ruled Egypt for generations after the time of Alexander the Great. Even though they ruled Egypt, they were not originally Egyptian. They spoke Greek and followed Greek customs, while ruling over an ancient land with its own deep identity and traditions. From an early age, Cleopatra showed strong intelligence and curiosity. She was educated in languages, philosophy, politics, mathematics, and science. She learned quickly that ruling a kingdom required more than royal birth. It required strategy, patience, and the ability to understand people and power. She also learned something else very early in life. Power is never permanent. Her father, Ptolemy XII, ruled Egypt during a difficult time. The kingdom was wealthy, but politically weak. Rome was becoming more powerful, and Roman leaders had growing influence over Egyptian affairs. Egypt still had its treasures and culture, but its independence was slowly fading. Inside the royal palace, life looked beautiful from the outside. Golden decorations covered the halls, and at the same time, Rome was going through its own internal war. Julius Caesar had become the most powerful leader in Rome after defeating his rivals. But one of his enemies, Pompey, fled to Egypt seeking protection. When Pompey arrived, he was killed by Egyptian advisors who believed this would please Caesar. However, this decision had the opposite effect. When Caesar arrived in Egypt, he was not satisfied with what had happened. Cleopatra saw an opportunity. According to historical accounts, she found a way to secretly meet him inside the palace. Some stories say she entered hidden inside a rolled carpet or blanket to avoid guards. Whether fully accurate or not, the meaning is clear. She reached him directly, without fear. Cleopatra and Caesar formed an alliance. It was both political and strategic. Caesar supported her claim to the throne, and conflict broke out in Alexandria. The city was thrown into chaos. Fires spread, ships were destroyed, and fighting filled the streets. In the end, Cleopatra regained her position as queen. Her brother Ptolemy XIII died during the conflict, and she returned to power, ruling alongside another younger brother in name only. In reality, she was the true ruler of Egypt. Later, Cleopatra traveled to Rome and stayed in Caesar's villa. She was treated as an important foreign queen. During this time, she gave birth to a son named Caesarion, who represented a possible future connection between Egypt and Rome. But that future never came. In 44 BC, Julius Caesar was assassinated in Rome. The political world fell into chaos once again. They returned to Egypt, knowing their situation was becoming desperate. Octavian's forces advanced steadily, and cities began to surrender one by one. Resistance was no longer possible. Antony believed Cleopatra had died and, in his despair, took his own life. When he learned she was still alive, he was brought to her one last time before he passed away. Cleopatra was now completely alone. Octavian entered Alexandria with his army. He intended to bring Cleopatra back to Rome as a prisoner. She understood what this meant. It would be humiliation and the complete end of her dignity and legacy. According to ancient accounts, Cleopatra chose to end her own life rather than be captured. She died in 30 BC, though the exact details remain uncertain. With her death, Egypt lost its independence and became part of the Roman Empire. But Cleopatra's story did not disappear. Over time, she became one of the most famous figures in history, not only because she was a queen, but because she was intelligent, strategic, and capable of navigating one of the most dangerous political worlds of her time. Her story is a reminder that history is not only shaped by wars and empires, but also by individuals who make difficult decisions in moments of great pressure. Even after more than 2,000 years, Cleopatra remains one of the most recognizable figures from the ancient world. Historians continue to study her life, her political decisions, and the challenges she faced. Writers, artists, filmmakers, and scholars have all been fascinated by her story. Some remember her as a queen. Others remember her as a diplomat, a strategist, or a symbol of a civilization facing enormous change. Whatever perspective people take, her influence on history cannot be ignored. Her life connected two great worlds, the ancient kingdom of Egypt and the expanding power of Rome. She lived during a turning point in history.